Dakota Johnson and Chris Martin have reportedly broken up after being together for nearly 8 years.
Welp, cue the funeral music. Dakota Johnson and Chris Martin's romance is officially being lowered 6 feet under.
They reportedly split for a short amount of time in June of 2019, but sparked engagement rumors the following December.
After nearly 8 years of are they or aren't they, these two have reportedly pulled the final plug.
A source allegedly broke the news to people, telling them that it feels final this time. People started to suspect their split after Dakota's interview with the Los Angeles Times because of her response to being asked what made her role in The Materialists feel different for her.
And this time, it feels like the kind of breakup that ends with deleting playlists, not just pausing them. Sources from People and Vanity Fair confirm it's done, dusted, and drama-free. For now. Let's be honest, this was the Hollywood version of an IKEA relationship.
For a long time, we've all been so quick to judge relationships or how they should happen, how they should exist in the world. When people should get married, divorce is bad. All these things that actually, if you think about it, why is divorce bad? Why do people have to get married or at a certain age or only once? Why? It doesn't matter.
Looks great in photos, collapses under pressure, and leaves you emotionally bruised with a leftover Allen wrench. They survive pandemics, premieres, parenting from previous marriages, and paparazzi flashbulbs, but even star power can't patch over long-term incompatibility.
She responded by saying the complexities of all of the characters, the paradox, everyone being confused about what the they're supposed to do with their hearts and what's the right move. I found that very honest, and I found it just so relatable.
The breakup wasn't explosive. No cheating scandals or emergency therapy sessions. Just the slow, creeping death of we don't work anymore. Insiders say the love didn't crash and burn. It fizzled like flat champagne. And that's exactly what makes it final. When even the drama is too tired to show up, you know it's over. Chris Martin, king of cryptic Coldplay lyrics and soft boy romanticism, decided to confuse the entire internet by giving Dakota a sweet public shout-out just days before the breakup news hit. He literally promoted her movie Materialists from the stage like a proud boyfriend with a mic and a megaphone. So, naturally, fans lost their minds. Was it love? Was it PR? Or was it just the final rose ceremony of their very private bachelor season? Either way, the shout-out threw a wrench into every gossip columnist timeline. Because you don't exactly send your alleged ex a public blessing unless you're either a super evolved human or feeling slightly guilty for dipping out. Plot twist. Insiders say the shout-out wasn't a reconciliation. It was more of a soft landing, a way to end things with dignity and a little spotlight sparkle. Fans hoped it meant wedding bells, but turns out it was just a breakup ballad set to arena lighting. 13 years apart may not sound like much until you realize one wants to talk about IVF and the other just downloaded TikTok. The age gap between Chris and Dakota didn't just show up in their skincare routines. It reportedly reared its head when they discussed the K-word, kids. Chris, already a dad of 2, was apparently done with the baby-raising phase. Dakota, on the other hand, was allegedly still on the fence, flipping between career moves and baby mood boards. That fundamental mismatch became a slow-boiling issue they never fully resolved, like putting a Band-Aid on a bullet wound and calling it compromise. While Dakota thrived in her rising star era, Chris leaned into his middle-aged man peace and love tour vibes. They weren't growing apart, they were just growing in opposite directions. Sometimes love can't out-yoga generational differences. Dakota's on red carpets in Paris. Chris is in Brazil doing backflips on stage. These two have the kind of jobs that make syncing calendars feel like solving quantum physics. Their relationship didn't just suffer from long distance, it suffered from long existence. She's filming 3 movies a year, and he's headlining stadiums on every continent with Coldplay. At some point, even Zoom calls become emotional labor. Love may be patient, but it's not immune to bad Wi-Fi and time zones. And here's the twist. Insiders claim they tried. Hard. Private jets, secret getaways, even overlapping tour dates. But you can only run on adrenaline and FaceTime for so long before someone misses a milestone, and the resentment creeps in. The relationship became less about romance and more about scheduling software. They were allegedly engaged for years, but never picked a date. That's not romance, that's limbo with better jewelry. Dakota rocked a ring since 2020, and yet wedding bells were suspiciously silent, like a rom-com with no third act. Was it cold feet or a quiet mutual agreement to keep postponing until it no longer mattered? Rumors say Dakota wanted clarity while Chris was comfortable in their undefined bubble. And if that sounds eerily familiar, that's because it's the universal red flag. Commitment via vibes only. This wasn't a runaway bride story. More like a couple who walked halfway down the aisle Dakota didn't just love Chris. She loved his kids, Apple and Moses. Insiders say she built real bonds with them over the years, which made the breakup not just romantic loss, but familial heartbreak. She wasn't a stepmom, but she wasn't a stranger either. And that's the real emotional twist. Dakota may have been more invested in the family unit than anyone realized. Ending things with Chris meant stepping back from two kids she watched grow up. An unspoken pain that doesn't make headlines but hits harder than any tabloid rumor. Sources say she took that part especially hard, trying to shield them from the split while also managing her own grief. Turns out, losing a love is hard, but losing a bond you didn't birth yet nurtured? That's brutal. Dakota didn't just walk away from this breakup. She sashayed into her next chapter like a villainess on a catwalk. Paparazzi spotted her in sheer black ensembles, stepping out in New York like heartbreak was her runway theme. Missing from her look? The engagement ring. Present? Enough see-through sass to suggest she's single, thriving, and possibly auditioning for the role of your loss. The fashion girlies called it revenge dressing. But this was more like funeral chic meets romantic rebrand. She wasn't crying in public. She was giving couture closure. Dakota turned post-breakup press into a full-blown fashion moment. And we have no choice but to stand. The internet is split like a poorly baked croissant. One camp swears the Coldplay shout-out means they're still secretly together. The other camp, probably armed with spreadsheets, says it's classic ex etiquette. You don't shout out your ex's film unless you're still together, cried one fan on TikTok. He's just being nice, said another, probably while deleting old photos of their ex. The ambiguity is exactly the kind of drama-free chaos Dakota and Chris have always served. No public statements, no unfollows. Just enough emotional breadcrumbs to keep Reddit threads alive. Honestly, at this point, they could be married or mortal enemies, and we'd still be guessing. It's called celebrity breakup theater. And they're starring in it. Here's the kicker. This breakup didn't come out of nowhere. Insiders say the foundation had been cracking for over a year. Little things adding up like silent red flags. Their communication reportedly went from poetic texts to logistical check-ins. Fewer vacations, more solo sightings. Dakota dove deeper into film. Chris disappeared into world tour mode. And slowly, what was once magical turned mechanical. This wasn't one of those tabloid caught cheating with a backup dancer stories. It was a slow burn that eventually ran out of flame. The kind of breakup where both people look exhausted but polite. In a plot twist we didn't expect, this is one of those rare celebrity breakups where nobody's trashing the other. Sources say the split was mutual, quiet, and respectful. No blindsides, no screaming in lobbies, just two grown-ups saying, yeah, this isn't working anymore. It's giving emotional maturity, which is both inspiring and infuriating. Can we at least get a dramatic album out of this? Dakota's allegedly focusing on healing and her press tour. Chris is doing whatever Chris does when he's not whisper singing into stadium mics. No drama, no scandal. Just a calm exit from a stormy timeline. And honestly, that might be the most shocking twist of all.